daycare suspending its operations after an employee was accused of severely beating a child. A wreck on US 231 North this morning in Dale County led to one arrest. Support is growing for the impeachment of Governor Robert Bentley. And your message hitting stride across the nation. What do you want to tell our viewers tonight? What do you want to leave them with? The silo is full of wood chips, making it extremely flammable. Now, the exact cause of the fire is unknown at this time, but it's not every day you get to see them up close. Less than 24 hours after bullets were flying in a Dothan neighborhood earlier today, one person was shot in the leg during a shooting on Grant Street. 80% of small businesses in the county have less than 20 employees, and this week those operations are being recognized. The state's general fund budget and education budget have both been approved this session. After a 2-year-old discharged a firearm at the Ayrton Sports Complex, thousands of Medicaid patients in the state are at risk of losing their coverage. Today, Dothan's narcotics unit went to local businesses to do a compliance check. Now, on a more serious note, there were 2 murders in 2015, and there have already been 2 this year, and we're not even halfway through the year. What is the department doing, to ensure that this number doesn't increase? One man is dead, another on the run after a shooting in Enterprise last night. This is the latest in a rash of shootings in the city over the last several weeks. A bill to change teacher tenure and evaluations, known as the PREP Act, may be put on hold.
Life or death is really how you have to look at it.
That weight on the shoulders of flight paramedics in the U.S. Army, training today to save soldiers tomorrow.
The goal is that we could have one of our fellow soldiers that is requiring medical attention, and we want to be able to provide the best medical attention possible. So this training is invaluable for that.
After spending over a year bridging the gap between medicine and aviation, today is the true test.
They are asked to receive a 9-line. They will then interpret the 9-line, go on a live aircraft out to a landing zone, land there, triage and treat casualties, and then have to perform treatment in the back of an aircraft for an undisclosed amount of time. From there, they will land and give report, just like they would in real-time conditions for a 9-line medevac.
We will actually take our medical knowledge that we practice over and over again, and what we've actually used on real patients on the ground, and we will operationalize that training to get our first run of doing it actually coordinated with a live helicopter.
And emotions are running high.
It is a little bit nerve-wracking, and I think exciting at the same time.
But it's not about pass or fail for these soldiers.
Your education is never ending. So just because we go through today and whether we perform at the top of our game or maybe we make a critical mistake, then the idea is we don't just say, okay, I'm not going to be a flight medic. We say, I'm never going to make that critical mistake again.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just a job, but a passion for saving lives.
For me personally, you have the greatest opportunity to make the greatest impact at the most critical point of time.
A father now sits behind bars and his child in the hands of the Department of Forensic Science. Jose Rosales Sr. charged with domestic violence in the death of his 2-year-old son. The Houston County Sheriff's Office still investigating the case, believing there's more to this story.
We're not going to focus on one man, one person, one area. We're looking at the whole case that we have. We're looking at everything, and we're looking at the child and the autopsy. What was the contributing factor of that child dying?
After being rushed to the hospital, Jose Jr. was pronounced dead, and the cause is still unknown.
But it's definitely ruled a homicide right now.
Investigators are still searching for answers, waiting on more evidence from the autopsy. But what they do know, the child received significant injuries to his body, because the scene they described that Saturday afternoon is still etched in their minds.
They were awful.
A thorough investigation for a child who deserved more.
We're not going to be hasty and jump into something just so we can try to clear it. It takes time. There's factors involved that we need to actually get to corroborate some of the information we have, to see whether or not charges go forward on the individual, or could it redirect us into another direction.
Keeping it local in Houston County, Breanna Barrs, WDHN News 18. He hasn't seen his desk in 2 years.
I would say I hope you get through this, and I hope you can come back to school and everybody misses you.
At times, it looked impossible.
I didn't think it would be possible.
But it is today.
Yep.
Today, Connor Loki, the young 3-year-old boy diagnosed with leukemia, beat his odds and returned back to school for the start of 5th grade.
Great. It's amazing being here after missing 2 years of school, actually being back at a school.
And his classmates excited as well.
I was really excited for him to come back to school, and I was hoping that he wouldn't be nervous.
But everyone gets those first day jitters.
I felt a little nervous, of course, but other than that, I felt great.
And to the 5th grade student who triumphed through hardship, he's taught his friends a lesson or two.
That you never give up, even through the tough times.
And for Connor, well, he's back in action.
What's your favorite thing about Connor?
His personality,
What's so great about it?
it's extraordinary.
An extraordinary personality for an extraordinary kid. He's the man you call to prepare for the worst situations, high-threat situations with an active shooter. Aaron Cohen served on the Israeli Special Forces team, a highly trained unit who target wanted terrorists.
So what I can teach them is all of the things they can't get unless they go to Israel and train.
Something he's bringing to the Houston County Sheriff's Office. And this type of training is different than your typical American style.
The emphasis is on speed. And the reason why is because we found in Israel that for every second you waste, another innocent bystander will be killed. For every round that you miss, another innocent bystander can be killed. So there's a different tactical protocol.
And while he's preparing officers to take down terrorists, the number of those wanting to hurt Americans is growing on the homeland. And Cohen believes it's because of the internet and social media.
It's a lot more cost effective, and it's a very low tech and effective way to get people to attack Americans. Instead of having to fly to Iraq or northern Syria and go train with ISIS, well, you can just pick up a weapon here and open fire after being radicalized online.
He says it's only a matter of time.
It's going to happen in big cities and it's going to happen in small towns, and that's part of the terrorist agenda, which is to create the fear.
So we must be prepared. And his advice for the average person is something you won't hear floating around the advice pool.
Don't hunker down. Leave. If you're in a school and there's a window and you can get out, go. A moving target is a lot harder to hit than a static target.
And if you can't get out,
you must attack the attacker. And if you're 10 or 15 teenagers or young adults in a classroom, you have a much better chance of surviving if you attack the attacker.
Because then roles change.
The moment you start to attack the attacker, he now begins to defend himself, and he's now switched roles. The only way to survive is to be aggressive and attack if you can't get away.
A big responsibility to take on, while many will leave it up to law enforcement to handle.
This is a service industry that involves risking your life, and I think it's important to remember that these guys, they pump red blood in their red hearts, you know, and they're normal guys, and they're out here busting their because they want to make this county safer overall in the event of a mass shooting, which is essentially what we're training for.
Something we can only hope will never happen here. But Houston County Sheriff's Office will be ready.